Since Donald Trump was declared the president-elect last Tuesday, it's been difficult to find any positive news, especially with the long list of MAGA crazies and cultists filling his cabinet coming out. But thankfully, last night we finally did get something to smile about because Trump stooge and Fox propagandist Jesse Watters was humiliated on national television on his own show by his own mom. And we are going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way and it really means the world to me. Now, there's been a lot of conversation about the politics within families, people being upset with their parents or their brother or sister for the way that they voted in this election, and rightfully so. But one of the best examples of a family coming together I've seen is Tim Walz's daughter's response to this election loss. I thought it was incredibly powerful. But so before we get into Jesse, I think we should take a look at that.
I just have a couple initial post-election thoughts. I've officially reached a point of anger, and I'm not an angry person, so I'm just trying to channel it. The first one being, this country does not deserve Kamala Harris. That woman should go live her best life wherever she wants, doing whatever she wants, because we don't deserve her at this point. The only people that delivered this election were Black women, and we failed them. Another one is, these people have to live in their own skin, as in J.D. Vance and Donald Trump have to be J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. And that is not a punishment I would wish upon anybody except those two individuals. I'm giving myself the week to be sad and to mourn what could have been, what should have been. But that's not where we are. And that's not reality. And I'm giving myself the week to accept that and to be in it. And then the work starts. So we got this, America. We're going to be okay.
I could not agree more with Hope Walz. A lot of us are still processing this election. I certainly am. That is the reason why I wanted to share that video. It has been difficult to really compartmentalize what happened last week and the way that we need to continue to fight and how we are going to be able to pick ourselves up. But I agree with Hope. This country did not deserve Kamala Harris, obviously. Obviously, we know they made the wrong decision. We know our friends and family who are so incredibly disappointed right now also cannot believe this. But there are some people who are just waking up to it. And that is what Jessica Tarlov was talking about before we get into Jesse, was those who are now realizing what Donald Trump's agenda really means and why they're finally deciding, oh man, I made a mistake.
I do want to say something, though, about Tom Homan.
Mm-hmm.
So for everyone who said Trump doesn't know what Project 2025 is, he just put a key contributor in charge of this. And Tom Homan was interviewed on 60 Minutes, and he was asked, is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families? And he said, of course there is. Families can be deported together. He also said that it didn't mean if someone was coming to be, quote unquote, rounded up and grandma was in the house and she's undocumented, that it didn't necessarily mean that grandma wouldn't be taken to. And you can say Donald Trump has a mandate till you're blue in the face. Taking grandma is not what people were voting for. They were voting for criminals to be kicked out of this country.
We tried to warn people, and it seemed like they didn't want to listen or they didn't care, but now they do, because we knew what Project 2025 was from the beginning. It was always Donald Trump's agenda, no matter how much he tried to run away from it. Him running away from it was just a reaffirmation of the fact that he was so connected to it. And it's a dangerous agenda. It is an agenda that empowers the craziest members of his cabinet that we're seeing appointed to do whatever they'd like, to do it without fear of being held accountable. Because Donald Trump thinks, and I guess he wants to be, and I guess he can be now, a dictator on day one. And that is why so many of us still cannot believe that people in our lives voted for him. And that's clearly the case with Jesse, whose mom is still pretty upset with him, as we can tell in this clip right here.
Since they can't stop us, we're not invited to Thanksgiving.
How do we move forward when we know there are people you have people in their families who voted for him? They work with people who voted for him. They live next to people who voted for him. How should we deal with those neighbors, co-workers, family members.
Do you recommend, just from a psychological standpoint, being around them? We got the holidays coming up.
It's completely fine to not be around those people and to tell them why, to say, I have a problem with the way that you voted because it went against my very livelihood and I'm not going to be around you this holiday. I need to take some space for me.
Yep, people are taking some space in the Waters household. I'll have you know that I was not invited to my mother's house for Thanksgiving. Apparently there wasn't enough room. She said it was a scheduling situation, and then at the last second invited me to come over on Black Friday. I told her no thanks, I'll be at Best Buy. Joining me now, RNC co-chair Lara Trump. Lara.
Now, I don't know why Jesse Waters would willingly give up that information, why he would tell anyone that his mom wasn't inviting him to Thanksgiving, but boy, that was pretty humiliating to say that your own family doesn't want to be with you and then to say that you don't want to be with them either. Now, I understand the reason they don't want to be with you, Jesse, because you voted for a fascist. And I've been seeing so much conversation online saying that the left is hateful. Democrats are upset and angry and they're cutting people off and that's so wrong and no, we need unity. I disagree. It's not hateful to cut off hateful people, to not want people to be a part of your lives who voted against your rights, who voted against our democracy, who voted against what is right. I don't see a problem with that. Sure, I do think we need to work to make sure that we hear people and reach them where they are to better educate everyone who is now waking up to Donald Trump, who is waking up to what this administration will be. I wish they had woken up for Election Day. I wish they had realized what we had been telling them. But yes, we have to continue to fight to teach people about how bad this administration is going to be. And speaking of teaching people, gosh, one of the darkest policies that Donald Trump has been advocating on the campaign trail is coming true. And we can see what that is in this clip right here.
And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C. All those buildings all over the place, and you have people that in many cases hate our children. We're going to send it all back to the states. We will empower parents and local school board to hire and reward great principals and teachers, and also to fire the poor ones, the one whose performance is unsatisfactory. They will be fired. Like on The Apprentice, you're fired. Third, we will ensure our classrooms are focused not on political indoctrination, but on teaching the knowledge and skills needed to succeed. Reading, writing, math, science, arithmetic, and other truly useful subjects. Fourth, we will teach students to love their country, not to hate their country like they're taught right now. Fifth, we will support bringing back prayer to our schools.
We said it so much that you need to believe what Donald Trump says when he says things that are politically damaging. But it turns out they weren't politically damaging enough for some, but they still can be. We can still shift the narrative. We can still shift people's perception. We can still push back. And Donald Trump's attacks on the Department of Education should terrify us. Terrify us. This is what MAGA wants to do. They want to shred the institutions that benefit the most Americans in favor of helping out a few. And those few are largely always their rich friends, attacking people without question, without concern, because they feel empowered to do whatever they want now. And of course, top of that list is Trump's new appointee, Stephen Miller, who, if you want to know more about him, check out these clips from CNN.
Before we get started on our discussion, I just want to play a little bit of a flavor of Stephen Miller, who he is, what he says, and what he believes.
America is for Americans and Americans only. You have two policy objectives that you proceed with utter determination on. Seal the border, no illegals in, everyone here goes out. That's very straightforward. You would establish large-scale staging grounds for removal flights. So you grab illegal immigrants and then you move them to the staging grounds, and that's where the planes are waiting for federal law enforcement to then move those illegals home. You deputize the National Guard to carry out immigration enforcement.
I remember when Stephen Miller was press secretary to then Senator Jeff Sessions, and this was exactly what he would say over and over again anytime you would pick up the phone and he would call. At the time, he was definitely not where the party was. Now he is. And those policies, they are the Republican Party.
These are the type of people staffing this Trump administration. These are the type of people we have to make sure we're calling out every single day. We have to be part of those pushing back. We have to be part of those educating others and letting them know how dangerous this Trump administration is. We knew before, sure. We tried to warn them, yes. But our job does not stop there just because we were right about how dangerous Donald Trump was going to be. It is now even more incumbent upon us to work every day to push back, to educate, and to give ways to empower people to work in their own lives in their own communities to make sure Donald Trump does not completely destroy this country. And we're going to be doing that on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button and leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.